So just welcome everybody. Just glad to be here for another session. And as always, we'll start out just with a really simple grounding meditation to kind of arrive here. It takes a while to get logged in and get settled. So we'll let the bell transition us into our first sit, just as a way of coming together. So the bell reminds us that we're transitioning. So we're letting go of the arrival process and coming inward. So we're coming down into the sense of being in this body, maybe paying attention to our posture, feeling the support of chair or whatever is supporting us, feeling that physical support of the body. And from that physical support, we can invite the body to move upright just a little bit, and the spine can elongate just to open the chest a little bit, open our heart. And then it also invites the mind to become more alert. So we have this upright alertness, the support of the groundedness on our support chair. And we're also relaxed. So feeling the balance of those three sensations. And if you're comfortable going inward, closing the eyes, or just having a soft gaze, and just checking in as we always do. How is the mind right now? What's the mood of the mind? Is it still kind of humming from the arrival process, or is it curious about what's going to happen next, or is it in the silence getting a little foggy? Just noticing how the mind is. We don't judge it, we just notice it's like this. And then dropping into the body, feeling how the body is. Does it feel energized? Does it feel tingly and anxious, or is it just calm, or is it numb? What's the overall sense of the energy in the body right now? Maybe feeling that support of the chair. So we don't have to work hard to support. We still have this alertness, but we're just really feeling, can we feel relaxing and supporting in that support from the chair? Or is there some agitation, some discomfort? We can notice that if that's there. But really getting a sense of the full body of how it is. Maybe grounding in specific sensations in the body, feeling the feet or the hands, those sensitive fingers and toes, really feeling that groundedness of those parts of the body. Noticing the sensations that we get, maybe we feel heat or cold, or the sensation of touch. Maybe a sense of tingling in the hands and the feet. This is a way of really coming into this body presence. And then turning the attention to the breath. However we perceive this body breathing. Maybe we're feeling the full body breathing, just a sense of receiving energy on the inhalation and a letting go on the exhalation. Or maybe we feel the specific sensation of the breath coming through the nose, throat, lungs, belly. How do we know this body's breathing? How do we know when we're breathing in? When we're breathing in, what's the sensation? How do we know when we're breathing out? We just rest the attention there in this process of the body breathing. Receiving the in-breath, letting go, and the exhale. Letting the awareness, this knowing, rest there in the in-breath and the out-breath, this rhythmic breathing. Checking in again to see how the mind is. Is the mind still with the breath, or is it wandered off? But checking on the mood of the mind. How is it now versus maybe how it was when you first checked in, when this meditation started? Maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. Just noticing if the mind is like this. And then returning the attention back to the body, the breath. The in-breath is like this. The exhalation is like this. Can the mind rest with this awareness of the body breathing? Relax and stay present with this process, or does the mind want to wander off, do something else, thinking, planning? Maybe it's disturbed by a body sensation. And we just be present with this breath or whatever is happening. Knowing what's going on, this body breathing, these sensations. Noticing the effect on the mind and the body. Is there a relaxation? Is there an agitation? We don't judge this, but it's just a way of learning how what the mind pays attention to, how the body is, how that affects our sense of presence, of ease, our ability to be with whatever is happening. Or if we have an active mind, we can notice that the mind wants to run off somewhere, and we can notice the effect of that, planning, remembering, daydreaming. What's the effect of that? Can we come back to training the mind to be present with this more immediate experience of how it is right here, right now? How is this body breathing? Is it relaxed? Is there tension? Is there ease? So this is our basic practice. And can you just notice right now where the mind feels most comfortable resting its attention? Where's the greatest ease? Is it in the breath? Is it in a body sensation? Is it in the sensation of the feet or the hands? pressure of the body against its support. It allows the mind to relax, to be at ease. It's still alert, not sleeping. You still want to be attentive. So finding that balance. And bring the awareness out to, again, to the sense of the whole body, the awareness of the overall sense of the body, if it's relaxed, if it's agitated, the sense of how the mood of the mind is, and then allowing the awareness to kind of open up to the sense of being in a space. Maybe there's background noise coming back into the world. We'll let the bell transition us. Gradually opening the eyes if they were closed, just coming back to the group. And just taking a moment to, as I often encourage, just reflect on what the experience was. And we were doing that practice for a little less than, about 10 minutes. And probably during that time period, there was a whole range of experiences you went through, right? The mind was initially, mind and body were one way, and then we had an intention, and then it practiced with that, and then the mind was good with that for a while, and we noticed how it was in the mind and the body, and then the mind might have wandered off, and then it came back. And so these different ways of relating to the experience, this is all part of the practice. And there's sometimes when I'm doing these sessions, I feel like I'm always saying the same thing, because basically the practice does come back, what is it that we're really doing? It's good to think about, what is it that we're really doing in this practice? And it, for me, it always comes back to that we're training the mind to, rather than let it run around like it normally does, always doing, planning, running off, which for me usually leads to agitation. It's sort of like a wild horse that's just running around. We're encouraging it to pay attention to certain things, very mundane things, very ordinary things, this body, this breath, how the mind is right now. Because our minds are so stimulated the rest of the time, right? We're stimulated by people or by activities or by electronic devices or whatever. But we can also feel the agitation of that. And this training that we're doing is training the mind to pay more attention to what's actually happening right here, right now, in this mind and body right here, which is really the only thing we can know. And also notice, so we're present with our experience, but also noticing what the effect is, how we are relating to that experience, whatever's going on. And maybe when you were doing that meditation, you might have found yourself judging it, like, this isn't going well, I can't get my mind to focus, and you could feel the frustration of not getting it to, you set an intention and it won't do what I told it to do, and feeling that frustration, the judgment. So we think we have a bad meditation when that happens, but actually it's a way of learning, what those habits are of the mind, and noticing the irritation, the self-judgment that comes out. And, that self-judgment voice is another thing that a lot of times we don't hear it, but when meditation, we can feel how unhelpful it is, So all of this is a learning process to get to know ourselves better. And as Nancy and I talk about often, it's to notice how we relate to experience, and we're practicing and being present with whatever is happening, even whether it's good or whether it's not good. Can we be present with it without reactivity, and be calm and clear enough to know if there's something you know, if we can just be there with it, or if something really does need to be done. Because usually when we're the least bit uncomfortable, we want to do something to fix it, to make it okay. And then we wind up spending our whole life trying to fix our life rather than living our life. You know, so this is the practice, the balance, and we're training the mind just to learn to pay attention to what's really going on, not the story about what's going on. So it feels like, you know, we're constantly doing various ways of practicing with that, whether it's the body awareness or noticing emotions or whatever, but that same basic practice. And I guess what I'd like to do today is to really give you a chance to really explore what it is the mind is doing when you give it, as my one teacher would say, you give it a big pasture to run around in and see what it's going to do. The wild horse, you know, is it going to graze peacefully, or is it going to run around and be looking for the next exciting thing, or just burn off energy? Sometimes in these sessions, we don't take enough time to really allow the mind to kind of go through a cycle of calming and agitation and seeing what those activities are. So that's, you know, I'd like to really have maybe a deeper practice today. But the same basic thing that we were doing in the first meditation, we'll just be doing this for the rest of the period. So we'll set an intention with the mind, and hopefully you have a meditation object that's where I encourage you to notice where the mind felt stable, where you felt you could rest your attention. Set the intention to be with that, and notice how the mind and the body are when we're with that object of meditation. And then notice what happens when the mind does something else, and notice what the effect is on the mind and the body, and get to know your habits, and do this with curiosity, without judgment, with kindness, curiosity, compassion. You know, and this way we develop wisdom about ourselves and what leads to ease. And for me, that's kind of what the underlying goal is. Notice what causes us to stress out, and what causes more ease in this body and this mind with whatever comes up. So let's explore this with that short introduction. And, you know, and the benefits are, by doing this exploration, we're learning to see what's beneficial in how we practice and what isn't. And so kind of pay attention to that. But do it, like I said, with curiosity and kindness. So, and don't feel it. I guess the other caveat I'll say is, don't with a sense of doing. That's why the curiosity is important. Like, we're not doing meditation. Can we have this be receptive, that we're just noticing what happens rather than having it be a doer, which usually tends to lead to more frustration. So noticing when that's happening too. So I've just laid a lot of things out for you to think about. Let's just actually do the practice. So coming back into your meditation seat again, we'll let the bell transition us. So taking your posture. So with the sound of the bell, we're coming back to feeling that support, the uprightness of the body, but also that sense of relaxation. I'm just checking in to see how it is in this mind and this body again. Maybe it's changed since the last sit. Just noticing how it is. And setting the intention during this period just to give ourselves the gift of time and the gift of curiosity. The intention to pay attention to the habits of this mind. We set an intention to pay attention to something specific, like the breath or a body sensation. So we intend to be with that, but also we intend to notice what the effect is of whatever the mind winds up doing on this mind and this body. So with curiosity and compassion. So choosing your meditation object, maybe it's a sensation in the body, or maybe it's the breath, however you perceive it. Setting the intention to just stay with that, allowing the mind to rest there. Moment to moment, noticing what's happening and how the mind and body are relating. We can check in and see what the mind is paying attention to, if it's still with our meditation object or if it's wandered off doing something else, just noticing what the mind's doing, what the mood or the energy of the mind is, how the body is, and resetting the intention to stay with the meditation object, with curiosity, kindness. And as you're meditating, if you feel a sense of doing this meditation, maybe try to relax that a little bit, and rather than doing the observing of your meditation object, just receiving it. So letting go of the with an energy about doing this, but just receiving the sensation of the breath or of the body. Receiving, just noticing the effect. Moment to moment, just receiving this experience. No doer. Noticing where the mind is, how the body is. And returning to this receiving of the meditation object, moment to moment experience. Receiving the awareness of this object and noticing the effect on the mind and the body, moment to moment. Noticing what the mind is doing, how the mind is, the mood of the mind, the mood of the body. Just returning back to our meditation object, receiving the awareness, moment to moment, feeling the effect of whatever's happening in this mind, this body. Noticing what the mind is paying attention to, what the effect is on the mind and on the body. And then just returning to this receptive awareness, not doing meditation, but just receiving what's happening moment to moment and feeling the effect of that on the mind and the body. And intentionally bringing the awareness more back to the surface, to the sense of the whole body, the body being supported. This mind aware of the whole body. So noticing how it is right here, right now. And then widening that to notice the sense of the space around you. Maybe eventually opening the eyes just softly at first, not focusing on anything. Just noticing it's like this, right here, right now, this mind, this body. It's like this. So the bell transitions us from that meditation. And just take a moment to reflect what your experience was. We were sitting for quite a while. Maybe you had a range of experiences, and is there anything that you may have noticed about patterns in the mind or relationship of what the mind was doing to how it felt in the mind and the body? And there's no right or wrong answer, but just take a moment to reflect what you might have noticed during that. Habits of your mind. You can let that go and just come back to the awareness of being here together. So this practice, the instructions are pretty simple, but you may have found that it wasn't simple, but not easy necessarily. And the mind may have had a mind of its own. And we can notice that too. And the more we do this, as I always say, we just get to know these patterns, and we become familiar with them, and we see which ones are troublemakers that we want to maybe not have so much time spent with them, and the mind just naturally learns to let it go. We don't have to tell ourselves not to do this. It just goes, oh, there it goes again. Let's just not feed that, So the things that make us feel calm and allow us to feel more spacious, and we can invite that as well. So just keep playing with this, practice as often as you can. Take this into your everyday life. Just encourage you to do that, and thank you for your practice, and I wish you well. We'll see you the next time.